I just finished reading a book called Game Change, which basically goes through the entire 2008 election process, kind of the ups and downs, and the authors write it in a very narrative format, as if you're like reading a story and how characters and people interact with each other. It was very unique. Obviously, for a nonfiction book, you'd expect it to be more, this is what happened, this is who won, this is what the debate looked like, this is what the statistics said, and such and so forth. And while it did include that, it was more so about the emotions and the imagery tied to it all. But one thing I found very interesting is Obama's reported confidence throughout the 2008 election. I mean, here you had someone who was a state senator turned into freshman senator, turned to president within the span of 4 or so years. Um, Needless to say, Obama's radical, at least at the time, message of hope and change was something that shook the American body politic in a way that I think people underestimate. Um, I think reflecting back on Obama's time, this idea of a new face in politics, um, shaking the atmosphere, shaking the institutions that be, is not a foreign concept. I mean, you could think all the way back to Andrew Jackson, who ran on this populist message platform of representing the common man. That resulted in them being compared to donkeys and mules, which is something that the Democrat Party still to this day relishes. But I think the thing about Obama that makes him unique, other than the fact of his stature being an African American, is this idea that he ran on this concept of hope, a hope for a better time, a better future, that if we all just come together and embrace one another and meet at the dinner table, so to speak, that we can all triumph in success. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, and you look at the Obama years, and to be fair, that they are one of disappointment. You can look at things like the Affordable Care Act, killing Osama bin Laden, all those sorts of things. But underneath that all is a laundry list of things that happened in a super hyper partisan fashion. I think Obama, that election itself, set off the chain of command. The dominoes started to fall in the sense where Donald Trump declared his candidacy at the right time to hone in on this new hyper partisan thing that Obama wanted to exploit. I remember. Well, I mean, I wasn't conscious at the time, but I remember seeing videos of him on the campaign, and he speaks in this very bipartisan fashion. Uh, Obviously, in hindsight, we know that he didn't really act in bipartisanship, and very quickly he led down the path of institutionalism. And now that I think of Donald Trump's presidency, where in the 2016 to 2020 years, his whole message was, "I'm an outsider to politics. I'm going to drain the swamp. I'm going to rid, the the American body politic of institutionalism." And in many ways, now you're starting to see him adopt this new form of institutionalism where Trumpism, MAGAism, whatever you want to call it, is the new institution. So I titled this video Hope just because, you know, is that really a message that I think, it might be able to work and might be able to persuade a large sum of people? I think a great example would be Zohran Mamdani, the prospective mayor of New York City, running on this message of, hope and change for a better future, introducing all these landmark policies that are favored by many people with promises to do well, to do great. A lot of people, would react to that and say, this is nothing new. And I myself fall in that category of like, yeah, these policies that Zohran Mamdani peddles and things, they might be new and they might be different and sexy. But at the end of the day, what is it that will be able to be accomplished, pragmatically speaking? With this all being said, I'm reminded myself of the quote from Morgan Freeman. Yeah, I think he plays the character Red in Shawshank Redemption, and he very bluntly says, hope will drive a man insane. And I think that, to me, is a deep and almost cutthroat, I guess, reflection on my life thus far and where it's headed. Um, I have a lot of comments, especially on my Zoran Mamdani video that, oh, keep hoping you're going to get your Porsche eventually, play the capitalist game, blah, blah, blah. You can keep having hope that the days will be better and such and so forth. Um, it's funny that I think much of socialism is not born out of this idea of hope or positivism or like seeing the glass half full or possibilism. It's more so coming from a nihilistic standpoint of like, people are inherently bad. Capitalism breeds greed and all this kinds of stuff. We need to just tear it all down, and we need to set up an institution that way everybody gets an equal slice of the pie. That's fair. You can have that assumption. You can have those thoughts all you want. I'm not stopping you from that. But this idea of this capitalist hope, Thomas Jefferson omitted the word property from life, liberty, property from John Locke and instead substituted it for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are the things that the founding fathers wanted to guarantee. And of course, the pursuit of happiness means a lot differently for a lot of different people. I myself happen to think that the pursuit of happiness means that, no matter where your background is, no matter who you look like, no matter how tall you are, how, whatever things that are sort of out of your control, um, you would be able to succeed in this land called America. And I was talking with a friend of mine of the founding of America, what was so radical compared to other countries. Prior to America's founding, if you wanted to be wealthy, you had to be born into it. You had to be a royal, you had to be a monarch or an emperor or something along those lines. But the founding fathers came up with this new radical idea that what if we would let people cross the river? What if we opened the floodgates to say, hey, anybody can get rich? Obviously, the problem then becomes, if one person gets rich, um, this mindset of if I can't be rich, then no one else can. Kind of like this immigrant debacle I've been looking at for a long time of, you know, I'm the last one in and I came here legally and no one else is allowed in and you have to follow my say and we as Americans now, what I'm saying, we set the standard. Um, I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but I guess to wrap up my thoughts, what I wanted to conclude with is this idea of hope. Is it really possible in a campaign or a term of a president or a congressperson or whatever to actually use a mindset of hope to build a future where everybody is able to succeed given that they want to succeed, given that they are willing to put in the time and the effort. Um, because you find many instances where as soon as one person gets to the top, this idea of making it harder for other people to get to the top is very widespread. And do I think that's a direct result of capitalism? I'd be hard pressed to believe that. Um, and then do I think that the answer is socialism? Probably not. You know, this idea that, oh, just because one system works, the exact opposite system ought to work is a fallacy argument. But let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are, and thank you for watching. If you like the video, please like it. If you do dislike it, please dislike it, and I am out.